Precisely what Shaw meant in his quote is a bit of a mystery, but I can explain what it means in terms of what this program has been aiming at. Back in Session 2, happiness was defined this way. Happiness comes with doing the right things in life in the right way. It was explained several times that all people come into this world with certain predetermined abilities, interests, and potentials. These aspects are found in all of us and are unique to each and every person. To be truly happy, one has to discover these innate abilities and allow them to sort of unfold, to develop in reality. They have to be allowed to unfold for happiness in life. As they're developed, a path that seems correct simply appears. It's not magic, it's simply the way it happens. Several examples were used in earlier sessions to show how this works. These examples included the birds and the flowers. But as was also mentioned, with humans, the process is a bit more complicated and meaningful. Returning to Shaw's quote, it's true that adapting to the reality of situations is reasonable and probably quite smart. At the same time, adapting yourself to the wrong reality by making the wrong choices produces unhappiness. Think of an extreme example to understand this, like adapting to the reality of Nazi Germany. For a simple example, a person who's filled with creative ability in music and art might find that being an accountant will pay better, but it may not lead to genuine happiness. A specific individual's progress in life, with all the contributions that person could make, comes by finding the right reality, one that fits the individual's innate abilities and potentials. Sometimes the right reality has to be created. People like Thomas Edison created a reality that many others said couldn't be. Virtually all of his inventions were created despite many other scientists saying authoritatively that they were impossible, unreasonable, and irrational. Progress comes from changing reality, seeing what could be, and then persisting in creating it. What's important to understand here is that what people often accept as reality isn't actually reality. Many of the most innovative businesses that have ever been created were created from scratch. The internet, reliable overnight package delivery, and wireless communication are all relatively recent examples of this. Only you can say if any of this has any meaning for you. But it's only you who can say if you've found the right path in life. If your current situation isn't right, you know it. And ultimately, it's up to you to do something about it or adapt to make do with where you are. In the modern world, countless people want to work for themselves for a host of reasons. They've created innovative businesses, bought franchises, and searched for a work path that leads to happiness and relative wealth. In early 2007, the International Franchise Association of Washington, D.C. reported that more than 760,000 franchises existed in the United States. They list over 75 different industries ranging from accounting to wildlife management control. Over 14% of American workers are employed by a franchise. It's only one's imagination that limits the opportunities. At the same time, caution is certainly the wise course to take in such choices. With all the hype one hears about starting a business, nearly everyone tempers the enthusiasm with a scary statistic. About 90% of all new businesses eventually fail. According to various sources, lack of a realistic business plan and not following one's personal passion in life are the main reasons for business failures. A realistic business plan encompasses so many details that it goes beyond what the focus of this program is about. But the idea of following one's personal passion is definitely what this program's about. It should be understood that people who work for themselves should be working for the most disciplined and demanding boss they'll ever have. They will also work long hours, have worries that go beyond the typical worker's concerns, and have a lot more at risk. Lots of people are willing to take those risks, but they can stack the odds in their favor if they truly love what they're doing. Loving what you're doing is passion. In the 90% of new businesses that fail, I think that many of them fail because the person chose a business with one overriding thought in mind: money. I've known a few people who decided to get into the vending machine and phone booth business. The idea I heard from them was, I won't mind filling vending machines or emptying the coin box in a phone booth for a few hours a day if I can make $100,000 a year doing it. None of those people are still in those businesses, but I'm not saying such businesses can't work either. What all this boils down to is a simple decision. This decision transcends money. You have to find your passion, what has consistently been called the right path for you as an individual. Think of it this way: what do you really enjoy doing? What sort of work would you be willing to do for long hours with no guarantee of having a big money reward? One hint in this is to think about your hobbies. What do you really like to do when you're not at work? Probably sometime in your life, you've had the thought that you were in a rut. The idea of a rut is that a person does the same things over and over. Ruts are generally thought of as a bad thing, but the truth is, we all need ruts. Virtually all of the habits you have can be thought of as ruts. Most people brush their teeth at the same time each day, eat at the same time, and go to work at the same time. They go through a pre-work routine of getting ready and so on. Ruts provide us with automatic routines that are often helpful and healthy. On the other hand, most people have some bad habits too. A simple way to look at a rut is to think about a wagon path. Wheels going over the same spots again and again create indentations or grooves in the path that can get deeper and deeper the more they're used. Once the grooves are established on a wagon path, it's quite difficult for a wagon to get out of the rut. The tendency is to simply stay in the rut. The brain, interestingly, works the same way. As habits are established, specific brain areas involved in the habit build stronger and stronger connections to each other. This happens in a physical way, just as wagon wheel ruts are physical. That is, the nerve connections between these brain areas increase in number and actually get thicker. Once these connections get strongly established, the tendency is for them to produce the same behaviors over and over. This brain process happens whether you want it to or not. Some common habits like brushing teeth before bed become so ingrained that it happens automatically. That's a good thing. But bad habits become ingrained too. So here's the point. You're going to have habits no matter what you do. The smart thing is to create good habits. Changing habits is difficult. Once they are established, the physical connections in the brain will exert an influence long after you cease the habit. It takes a new habit that is willfully created and time to make the earlier habit lessen in strength. The chances are that you're probably only thinking about physical habits so far, things like brushing teeth, eating, sleeping, drug or alcohol use, and nail biting. But the interesting thing is that personality characteristics, which emerge in behaviors, are also habits. For example, there are people who like to complain, worry, argue, are shy, and so on. These characteristics are personality habits that have a physical brain component to them. Being chronically late for work, as well as clock watching mentioned earlier, are also habits. Changing such habits takes conscious will and the establishment of new habits. An individual's ethics are also a habit with a physical brain component. It's not what you say that counts, it's what you do that matters. Most people agree that lying is a bad trait, yet in the pure sense of a lie, it's a common trait in just about everyone. One's sense of right and wrong is based on beliefs, but the actual behavior that's performed is the true test of ethics. Perhaps the most revealing test of ethics comes when you are alone. Your real or genuine ethics are most revealed when no one will ever know what you do, when there appear to be no consequences. Here's a test of work-related ethics that happens to almost everyone. Let's say a person has tendered a resignation and has 2 weeks remaining at his present job. How the person handles those 2 weeks is a genuine test of ethics. In addition, virtually all work sites have a rumor mill and gossip. There can be consequences to a lot of people with gossip and rumor, yet it's a habitual behavior nearly everywhere. Thinking patterns and beliefs are also habits. Rather than go into a lot of ideas here, I'll mention only one specific belief that's important to this discussion. In general, as people grow older, fear of losing what they have becomes more and more important. Fear is a powerful motivator, and it keeps people from doing what they really want to do. It keeps people from allowing their inner potentials to emerge. It's one big reason why so many people stay in jobs they detest. Of course, fear also keeps us safe, so like everything else, there's a needed balance in fear. But if you're experiencing constant stress and anxiety related to work, there's a good chance it relates to fear of losing what you have. It's also a major clue that you are on the wrong path. In an earlier session, I mentioned that fear was something I had to overcome when I was getting a pilot's license. It's quite natural for people to be afraid when in the air flying a small plane for the first times. But in order to develop the skills necessary to be a safe pilot, fear has to be overcome. Having a good plan and total focus is the best way to overcome such fears, combined with a commitment to finding the right path.